All right, so it's so hard to try to avoid some of the stories of my journey the last 10, 12 years. When I'm talking about narcissistic abuse and repeating cycles and psychological abuse and torture, when you're being targeted by a narcissist and the group that helps them, they're trying everything they can to set you up. I've mentioned this in many of my voice snippets. So they're always trying different ways in hopes that you will be duped into falling into one of their traps. And so what they'll often do, what this group does, is they will retreat for a few weeks or months, and then they'll come with something different. And this is back in a time where I didn't see the connections to most of the things that they were doing. And they often came at me from different angles. So this is a time period where I'd been avoiding the males in that group, or the friends group that were men who were often targeting me. And I think this is the part that really threw me for a loop, because I always feel like women should be more compassionate or have some more empathy. But in these types of groups, women support any of the men who feel victimized by the target. And so sometimes women jump in to attack or target whoever's being pointed out with more anger and more rage, because they're in support of the man. Could be someone that they like, could be someone that they've sworn to, attack or go after someone for whatever reason. So this happened back in 2017. I'll repost the photo I took from that event, which is ironic because I can build a chronology of what happened to me based off of all the different events that I might have experienced or attended. So the repost is a picture of the peach cobbler I made. And so what this group does is they send a lot of Facebook invites, and they'll have specific people invited to the event. And I was one of them. And I thought, okay, for some reason they don't take to me too kindly, or they're not warm. Maybe they don't know me, and it's something where, you just take time to get to know people. And so I'm sure this was organized a specific way, but they sent me an invite to a potluck. And I had a look at it and I thought, oh, that would be nice. I've never seen any of these women except in the house music capacity. Let me go to this event. And I thought it was going to be a lot of people, but it was only a specific group of women. So about 7 to 10 women who all hang out together, and I've seen them around before. So I took my time making this tasty peach cobbler. I love making stuff, baking and cooking. And I baked it, I tasted it. It was perfect, fresh, tasted nice. And I showed up to this potluck with my dessert item. And so I was told that I was supposed to go to a specific party room in one of the participants' buildings. And I remember she lived in the Esplanade area, downtown Toronto. So I went out there and, I put my peach cobbler down on the table. And, I chatted with them a little bit. And, I did feel a little awkward because I'd seen them at other events and they would act cold, or they would make fun of me or mock me. But I decided to just kind of push that off to the side and just focus on, okay, I'm here at this event now, and just, chat and just enjoy myself and relax. So, everyone said what they brought, and, curries or rice or other desserts. And I didn't really think too much about it. So, I had my little dish and I was scooping items. And I tried various spoons of things, but I'm not too keen on eating heavy portions at potlucks, just because it's just not really my thing. But I thought, out of respect, you try a little bit of this and that. After eating a few portions of the different items and chatting and cracking jokes, I was done eating, and I drank a beverage here or there, like ginger ale or juice or something. And then I just kind of looked around the room because it was a really interesting venue, and I went out onto the balcony terrace, and I remember thinking about all that had happened before that year. So 2017 is when this potluck was happening, but 2016, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, I'd already had a series of events, as I've explained, happening. And I just thought, wow, I'm at this event with these women who are connected to the men who have been abusing me up until that point. And I thought, well, maybe this would be different. So I went out onto the terrace and I just looked out into the city streets, and I'll call her one of the ringleaders of the female group, came out onto the terrace and was just watching me or staring at me. And I thought, wow, why is she looking at me? And when I look back, I'm thinking, maybe she was looking to see if I would feel a certain kind of way or if I would be affected by anything I ate. Who knows, right? Who knows? So that event ended maybe 10, 11 p.m. I said goodbye. I ended up taking this picture where everybody put their sneaker forward in a circular fashion. And I thought, okay, maybe this is a change in the wind with a different kind of people, or maybe they've stopped being a Mean Girls group. I don't know. I thought, okay, it should be fine. So let's say this was on a Friday or Saturday. As soon as I got home, my stomach started bubbling. And by later on in the middle of the night, my stomach started having strong cramps. And, as my usual schedule back then, I would visit my mom or I would coordinate with my family and we would hang out. So I was supposed to go to my stepmom's place and spend the weekend. So I thought, okay, well, my stomach's hurting. I'll probably drink some tea for the next day or two and see how I feel. I stopped by a health food store and I bought some items to help kind of soothe my stomach and detox my stomach in case it got worse. I got to my stepmom's house, and that whole day my stomach I was in a lot of pain. And my stepmom was working the night shift that night. And I told her, I said, I went to a potluck and my stomach's hurting. And she was kind of like, oh, okay, well, it'll probably go away, you'll be fine. And she left for work. And late that whole night, for the rest of the weekend, I kept going to the bathroom. But I think the weirdest thing about going to the bathroom is that everything was black. And I was like, okay, I should be fine. Stomach hurting, sweating, stomach hurting, headache, all that. And then I started throwing up. And whatever I was throwing up was like a jet black ink. It was like a ink color and liquidy ink consistency. And I think I threw up that black ink color maybe 10, 15 times in a matter of 2 to 3 days. And it still didn't hit me that it could have been something that I ate at this gathering. And then I realized who they were. And then I kind of felt like, wow, like I really should not have gone to this potluck, because these women were never friendly or never forthcoming about their desire to know me as a friend or as an acquaintance. And so from then onwards, I was like, I don't think I'll ever hang with them, because I don't know if the food was undercooked or if someone purposely poisoned the food. But looking back, I did feel convinced that I was poisoned, and they were waiting for a reaction or to see like a final result. And the final result is that I eventually detoxed my body and my stomach, and I recovered and I was fine. But that was the last time I hung out with them. They did try sending a few invites over the course of months or years after that, and by then I was a goner. Like, there was no way I was gonna go anywhere with them and eat or drink food, because I really don't know what they're about and how they move. But I know from that I was really, really sick, and I've never hung out or gone anywhere with these women again. And one thing I felt about dealing with them is a lot of these women that roll in these groups where they do the dirty work or the bullying or taunting for these men that run in groups, it's kind of like they traded away their kindness or they traded away their empathy for something really dark, to be part of a collective group. And I really didn't think that I belonged somewhere like that, because I would never go with a group to go against someone because some guy told me this person's no good, So that was just my first account of poisoning. I've never had a situation like that happen ever again, but I became very mindful about drinks and food, especially around these folks. I'm going to segue a little bit now into a second account of a possible poisoning. So this happened in 2021. So in 2021, as I mentioned, my stepmom moved to Oshawa, and apart from me helping her move in early 2021 or late 2020, I hadn't visited her, and I promised that I would come check out her house and, spend some time there. I rented a car, so it was May 2021, and it took a while. It was a 3-hour drive. I drove out to Oshawa, and as I've mentioned before, I really just wanted to catch up with her directly and spend time with her, because I wasn't really too keen on asking my siblings to hang out or do anything, because by then they were already not coming around or communicating with me the way they used to. And so I thought it was just going to be myself and my stepmom. And so earlier that year, so in April, I didn't go to my stepmom's birthday party. I decided to stay back because I had gotten into an argument with my brother. And I'm going to backtrack a little. I realized that I didn't want to go back and forth with some kind of, in my opinion, empty argument started between myself and my brother. So I thought anytime these forced interactions happen, I'm going to retreat to cut the bullshit, because I didn't know why he was fighting with me even when I would say anything. And so I missed her birthday in April, and apparently that was around the time she was retiring from one of her jobs. So I missed her retirement party that she had, which to me was fine. I just didn't want to keep coming around knowing that there was something going on. So let me bring a refresher again. Christmas of 2020 was strange because she did pick a fight with me, and she did say something alluding to the fact that my dad cared about me or loved me more than my siblings. So that kind of stuck with me from Christmas of 2020 going into 2021. So I kind of kept a boundary up, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stand away and just give myself time to process all the things that had happened. So May comes, and I mentioned, I can rent a car. I'm going to drive out to Oshawa. And I did. So I was supposed to be visiting for 2.5 days, 3 days. And I just mentioned, I'll come by, see your place. We could have lunch or dinner, relax, and all that good stuff. As the day progressed, when I came over, she mentioned midday that my siblings were going to come by. And I thought that was interesting because whenever we would do like events, parties, holidays, they would never come. Or if they did come, there was always some kind of like, oh, I'm not going to be there. So when she said they're both coming, I was like, okay, that's fine. I hadn't seen them in a few months. So, we were hanging out, and then we had dinner. And after dinner, I sat on the sofa, and my stepmom said that she wanted us to talk, like as a family. And I was like, okay, a little bit surprised. And I call this portion a staged intervention because this felt like she wanted to set this up to sound and look a certain way. So I sat silently, and I let the situation commence or start, And so my brother sat on one side, my sister sat on the other side of me, and then my mom sat on one side. And she said she was made aware by one of my siblings that myself and my brother had gotten into an argument. And some of the things she said was very chilling in that it was like a continuation of what had happened at Christmas. And the way that she was talking to me or talking to us, it seemed as though I was not included or involved in whatever it was she was trying to direct towards me. So she said that we shouldn't be fighting, and that we should make an effort to get along, which is weird to me because we've always gotten along. But she said we should make an effort to get along. And she said, all three of you are connected or related to your father. And she's like, but I'm not related to your father. You guys are related to your father. And I just kind of looked at her like, why is she saying this? And she said, I'm an outsider. I'm not related to your dad. So the fact that you guys are connected, you should be getting along. And I thought, well, what's the problem? So then she asked us each to speak. And so she asked my brother to voice his opinion, and he said that I, out of nowhere, got upset, which was odd. And then he said to me, ever since you met, and then he said the name of the abuser, that I talk about at quite length in this whole promotion for this book. He said, ever since you met this abuser, you haven't been yourself and you haven't been the same. And I was like, wow. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, you act different and you seem to have lost yourself and you just act strange. And I thought, wow, like, I said, so when have you noticed this? And my brother said, for the last 5 or 6 years. And at that moment when I was sitting there around them, I just felt like this was being staged. I was shocked that my brother would bring something like that up, but I let him speak, and he mentioned many things that he didn't like about me, and then he told me that I didn't understand him, and then I just stood there so transfixed because I couldn't believe like what was happening around me. So I just let everything sit because I realized so much right in that moment. So after my brother spoke, my sister spoke, and she said that I always make her feel a certain way, and I do ABC. Like, she just mentioned all this stuff about me. And then she turned to me and said, and you had the audacity to call me to help you out with something. And I just stood there like, wow, like when was my family ever like this? And it was weird to see my stepmom watching them talk to me this way, and she almost looked happy about it. And I think this was a turning point in everything that I'd been experiencing after that staged intervention. I call it a staged intervention. And so I was quiet. I said a few things, but I really didn't think what I had to say mattered, because it just seemed like this situation was set up a certain way. My brother said he used to look up to me, but not anymore, because, you know, he found out how I really am as a person, which I thought was odd. Like, I just sat there. I didn't even know what to say. And one of the things I felt like, this scenario, May 2021, is the day that changed my life forever. Because I realized that I lost who my family was, or who I thought they were, but I gained like this awareness. So after this situation happened, both my siblings couldn't look at me in the eyes. They couldn't make eye contact. I apologized to them if I did anything to make them feel bad, which was weird, because I felt awkward apologizing, because I realized up until that point I'd always been a bit more of a people pleaser, and apologizing I don't think is something that could have fixed the situation, because I came into an awareness and I knew that apologies wouldn't help. So after this happened, they didn't want to stay. They both wanted to leave. And so they left. And it was myself and my stepmom left behind. I felt shocked. I felt hurt. I was speechless. But I was also in awareness. So this awareness is what changed my perspective about them forever. And I decided to hop on the computer and finish my work, because I had work to do. And for some weird reason that night, my stepmom didn't want to go to sleep. She was watching me while I was working on the computer, which I thought was odd. She kept asking me if I was going to go to sleep. And I said, no, I wouldn't be going to sleep. From that night of the staged intervention, I started getting a splitting headache. And so eventually I ended up going to sleep. And the next morning I was set to drive back to Toronto. When I woke up the next morning, my stepmom was sitting on the floor at the foot of the bed watching me sleep, which I thought was weird. I've never seen her behave this way, but she was sitting on the floor, and I woke up to her staring at me. And when I woke up, she didn't say anything. So I just kind of treated the day or the morning as if nothing happened the night before. So while I was getting myself ready to leave, she said she was going to make me some kind of porridge or oatmeal that she used to eat as a kid growing up. And I wasn't too keen, but I just said okay, because I was feeling strange from the night before. So I packed up all my stuff, grabbed my bag, ready. I went downstairs to the kitchen, and she made this porridge, and she said it's really good. And I was like, all right. So I looked at it. It looked a little weird to me. I took 1 or 2 tablespoons of this porridge, and right away it hit my stomach, and I had major cramps in my stomach, the same way I had at the potluck with these ladies. And right away, my mouth, the insides of my mouth started to burn, and I put my hand over my mouth, kind of grimacing in pain, because my mouth and my stomach were in a whole lot of pain. And I looked at her, and the first thing she said was, "Oh no, I don't want anyone to think I'm poisoning my daughter." And I looked at her, and I could barely speak because my throat was inflamed, my tongue was inflamed, my mouth was inflamed, and my stomach was like someone was just stabbing my stomach. And I told her I'm not going to finish this. And I asked her, "What did you put in it?" And she didn't say anything. And I said, "I'm not going to finish this." And I said to her, I'm very sensitive to foods that I don't normally eat. And because I was in so much pain, I didn't think about what was happening until later on that day when I got back to Toronto. My lips were swollen. My lips got cut up because, I don't know, they just started bleeding and getting sliced up. The inner part of my mouth was all bruised. My tongue was swollen. My throat was swollen. My face was swollen. And I remember taking a snapshot on WhatsApp to show her, and she was just like, "Oh my goodness, I'm really sorry." And I was like, why is my mouth doing this? And my stomach was in a lot of pain. And that echo of her saying, "Oh my God, I don't want anyone to think that I poisoned my daughter." It was like this chill down my spine. Like, was she trying to poison me? Did she lace this porridge or oatmeal with something? I don't know. So, I took a picture. I tried to retrieve the picture so I can show this photo of my face, but it's gone. It's wiped clean from my phone and my computer. But it's something that hit me right away. How many times could I have been poisoned and not know over the course of the last 10 years by groups of quote unquote friends or family and not know? And because I'm so much into holistic health and cleansing and healthy eating, how do I not know that I just cleansed or purged my system of any kind of poisonous substances? So those 2 days, so the day of intervention, the stage intervention, and then eating the poisoned porridge, it kind of came full circle, like, wow, I have to be careful because I don't know the people around me. I don't know what their intentions are, and I don't know if they're putting anything into the food. So, word of advice to anyone: be careful what foods you consume, what drink you consume, who's around you. And after that stage intervention, I realized that there's a possibility that this change of behavior from my family and the issues I'm going through in my neighborhood, in this apartment building, is directly tied to potentially someone in my family trying to get me out of here. I'll follow up with some more details that made me realize that maybe someone was trying to get rid of me. The truth will present itself. These are just my observations. Thank you.